Welcome to the cold, clear waters where the big brutes lurk, to massive woods, wetlands, and wide open country where big game trophies, elusive game birds, and all living things reside. Welcome to a world where the exciting challenge of outdoor adventure takes away tensions and the time clock never ticks. Welcome to another educational outdoor video, custom produced by Dave Winkelman Productions with you in mind. Come along for explosive fishing action and never-to-be-forgotten hunting trips. Whatever the creature, we'll be your teacher. And that's not all. We'll be meeting the gurus of the great outdoors, guides and outfitters, conservationists and tournament pros. So, at least for a while, put everything else aside, sit back, relax, and let the wonders of a wilder world take you wherever you want to be.
Challenge. Now there's a term that all walleye fishermen can identify with, because you might say walleyes are the toughest challenge of all, the hardest fish to figure out. And you know, of all things they do that confuse you, suspending off the bottom probably baffles more anglers than anything else. For one thing, many anglers don't understand the concept of suspended walleyes. Now that's one thing I'll be explaining on this tape. I'll also be talking about some new presentation techniques that most fishermen don't even know about. Presentations that'll swing the odds your way when the walleyes are suspended. Hi, I'm Dave Winkelman, and thanks for joining me on another special fishing video. And I'm really excited about this one because we'll be showing you some breakthrough patterns for catching suspended walleyes. But we're not going to stop there. We'll also teach you when these patterns apply, why they're so effective, and how you can put them to use for you to put more suspended walleyes in your boat. Okay, now before we get off on some of those tough what's, whys, and hows, I'm going to change hats from teacher to preacher for just a few seconds. Everything we'll discuss revolves around a few basic principles of what I call pattern fishing. Now this is new stuff, so you'll have to look and listen carefully. You may even want to rewind for a second look. Pattern fishing is a simple equation for fishing success that has two main elements. The first is location. Where the fish are and what cause and effect relationship in nature determines that location. The second part of pattern fishing is presentation, or what it takes to catch those fish in that particular situation. First, let's talk about location. There are 7 relationships that dictate where a fish will be. Let's count them down one by one. The first is the nature of the fish. The second is the season of the year. Third is structure available, which means the shape or terrain of the lake's bottom. Fourth is the cover available, or anything that sits on top of that structure. Fifth is food balance, or in simple terms, whatever's available for dinner. Number 6 is daily weather patterns or local weather conditions. And lastly, number 7 is other outside influences of man, such as pollution or watershed control or simple boating pressure. With the exception of the nature of the fish and available structure, the others change drastically on a yearly, monthly, even a daily basis to form locational patterns. So as you can see, fish location can be the result of one of these factors or a combination of many. All right, now that we've covered location, the second element of pattern fishing, as I said, is presentation. What you're going to do about it once you find the location. Presentation breaks down into 2 parts, tools and techniques. Tools to fishermen mean the same as hammers and nails do to a carpenter. They're necessary to get the job done. Lures, live bait, and rods and reels are only a few of the obvious examples, the tools of the trade that we need as fishermen. Technique, then, is simply what that carpenter, or in our case, the fisherman, does with those tools to effectively do a job well. Trolling, casting, various types of retrieves, even drifting are all good examples of this. And basically, there you have it, the essence of pattern fishing, a combination of fish location and presentation that'll catch fish on a given day. Hey, if that's clear, let's get on to catching some fish. We'll start with Lake Erie, a favorite spot of mine, where many of the best tools and techniques for catching suspended walleyes got their start, and not that long ago. And as you'll see, the special on the menu of that day was alewife and shad. Now in this case, the walleyes were suspended because the bait fish were schooling up off the bottom, feeding on zooplankton. Remember what I said earlier about food balance and how it affects location? Well, Erie was a prime example. So in our presentation, the key tools we used to accommodate that were weight-forward spinners, these dudes right here, tipped with agava crawlers, and lastly, our technique involved casting and counting these lures down to the depth the walleyes were at. And here's how it works.
You know, if you ask any old-timer, the first thing they're going to tell you is, man, you wouldn't believe what the fishing was like in the old days. You know, that's always the story. Well, the story we're going to tell you today is about a lake that the old days are not even going to parallel what's happening today and what's going to happen in the future. We're going to be fishing on Lake Erie with a very dear friend of mine, Captain Jim Foffrich, and we're going to show you some walleye fishing. Boy, that's going to be hard to believe. You know, there are a lot of places that claim that they're the walleye capital of the world, but I think the trip that we're on today, and I think if you have a chance to come up and visit it, you'll agree with me that if it's not the walleye capital of the world, boy, it's pushing darn hard for first spot. Well, I'm going to get back out there. There was a couple fish.
There's a good one.
Why didn't you get a chance to get back out?
Just get the net, babe.
All right. Well, I'll probably get tangled in the rocks, but...
Good fish.
That's all right. Is it a good one?
Yeah,
Where's the net?
Nice fish. Nice fish.
Ah, it's hooked in the boat thingy.
Got him?
Yeah. Oh, that's a decent fish.
You betcha. You
That's a
betcha.
typical Erie walleye, isn't it? What, 2.5? Look at the belly on that fish.
Yep, good fat fish. Been eating a lot of gizzard, shad, and emerald shiners. You can see that.
You think that's what it is? But I mean, the thing looks like it's just about pregnant.
I'm telling you. But they're nice fat fish this time of year.
Really white.
You go ahead and clean them. When
yeah,
we
that
flay
one
this, that gosh darn thing will be all over the place, you know, with rows of fat. Just real fat fish.
There's a fish.
Good one, babe?
Nah. Maybe.
Any bigness, though? There's nothing wrong with it. It's not decent walleye.
Is he a thrower? Yeah, that's a throwbacker, huh? Yeah. Cute little feller, though. Thank you, sir.
You bitch, babe.
That's the whole key right there.
They're laying all around this hump here. We're 8 foot now, babe.
He slammed it, and then he hit it, and he missed it, and I dropped the thing back, and pow, he hit it again.
Yeah, right back on it.
Just like that. Suspended walleyes on Lake Erie were a real challenge until the advent of the weight-forward spinner. Today, this unique system is the bread and butter method of most Erie walleye hounds. Its deadly design combines a flashing spinner and live bait, which really does a job on them. Drifting for Lake Erie walleyes is as simple as it is deadly. However, there is a definite technique involved. Once the structure is located, position your boat so that it'll drift back over the area holding the fish. Normally, as the boat approaches, the school will split and move around to either side. For this reason, the anglers are stationed at each end of the boat so they can cover as much productive water as possible. After the cast, the lure is allowed to sink and is counted down until it reaches the same depth as the fish. Meanwhile, as the boat moves downwind, a bow is created in the line. This bow is important because when the lure is retrieved, it'll swing off to one side, then change directions in a burst of speed. This erratic action triggers the hungry walleyes, bringing on some savage strikes.
The Tom's walleye catcher here is designed for rough water primarily, babe. Its primary design is to emulate a gizzard shad, sink fast, and its thin cutting edge gives it the ability to hold the desired depth and count on the swing.
How about one of these with the twin things here then?
Tom's twin spin?
Yeah.
Works real good. There's times that, you know, when they're really hugged and tight to the bottom, this is most effective. And with the ears and blades pointed up, you can bump along the bottom and never impair the motion of the blades.
Okay, and then this is called a top spin?
Yeah, that's the Tom's walleye spin, and it's designed for what we call a fallback retrieve. A lot of times those fish, it works 100% of the time. When you stop reeling, that lure starts to settle, that top blade spinning. On a stop-and-go retrieve, it's excellent.
It helicopters down there.
You betcha.
And this is your basic ammunition. The
right.
straight shaft, forward spinner.
You betcha.
What's this keel for?
Oh, it just keeps it from twisting. It's non-twist and it's non-tangle.
Doesn't that also allow you to kind of change directions with the bait? That little keel make it catch?
Well, when you're drifting, and of course it naturally does that, but when you're drifting, it's imperative that the lure not twist. And this thing is keeled perfectly, and you know it's when you make your turn, she'll just follow you, and boy, she'll just works
Okay, how are we
just
gonna
great.
rig these up? Here's a.
It's just like, you know, one of the things.
I think that's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a beauty. We call them night creepers down here.
Yeah, well, something that small would be a night creeper. Back in Minnesota, see, we have these big, huge things, and we call them night crawlers.
Oh, okay.
They can pretty well go where they want to.
Gary told me about those. But you just take it under and just gob it under, just like you're going to go catfishing, okay? Because You want that walleye to come up and just nip her and start really grabbing hold of her.
Summer months, Jim, when they get out and work these center reefs, just about all the action in the lake is happening on the reefs, right?
Right now.
How do they work them? I mean, does the school just come up and feed, or do they do specific things? They got particular style to the way they do it.
Generally, you know, back in May and June, they're feeding almost on a continuous basis, it seems like, because their hunger's there, they're building up their body weight. As the summer progresses, it seems like they eat, on a more selective basis. It gets into the style of fishing that you know from your area. Early morning and late evening being prime times, and then moving up into the shallows for minnows and crayfish and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Is there any particular time of the day? I know historically I think the traditional walleye fisherman says, hey, I got to be out there at daybreak or I got to be out there at dusk.
Uh-huh.
That's not true on Erie. Obviously, I mean, we've proved that here. We caught so many fish, and it's calm, and it's hot, and it's 12 o'clock noon or 1 o'clock, something like that.
And the thing is, you're entirely right, but there's no doubt about it. You take, like, in that area we were in, if you would leave that area set, untouched by boats and so forth, and as the day progressed, it would get better and better. And, boy, it would
all day long?
Oh, yeah. It would get, as it got dark, just before dark, it would get wild in there, all kinds of fish activity.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it gets real wild then.
Oh, yeah?
You got a grin.
Well, I'm just thinking I don't have to go home right away. We can go out.
You're a
and
welcome
fish
guest, babe. I had a party out one time, and I got 6 guys chunking lead, We call them lead slingers up here, And I was running my sport craft that day, and I had 3 guys across the back and 1 guy in the middle. He's really busting the heck out of the walleyes. And I said, what count are you using? He says, 18 count. I says, okay. And I had all the guys on 18. And he's, every other cast, he's got a walleye on, and they ain't doing nothing. And babe, I'm telling you, it was unmerciful. So finally I got behind him, he made a cast, and I started counting as soon as I hit the water. Well, I got up to 28, and he started his retrieve. I said, I thought you were using an 18 count. He turned around and he says, I count with a stutter. I said, okay, you stay with 18, all the rest of you guys go to 28. And boy, they were down in that bottom 4 or 5 foot. We was in 32 foot of water. And McGrath had went out on me. So I was counting on some accurate information, and I count with a stutter.
Suspended walleyes are notorious for choosing a specific depth and sticking with it. They follow the roaming schools of alewives feeding from directly below them. With the countdown method, you can put your offering right in front of their nose. Actually, it's quite simple. A standard weight-forward spinner falls through the water at a rate of approximately 1 foot per second. So, as your lure drops, count it down in 1 second intervals. When you find the productive zone, it's a simple matter of repeating the procedure. Obviously, different weight lures have different drop rates. Usually, it'll take some experimenting before you can come up with the right depth. But once you get their number, you can really cash in on those suspended walleyes.
On an overall basis, you're taking subdued light situations. There's a chartreuse here is one of the most superior colors we've got.
So basically, as a rule, if we're dealing with a low light condition, we're dealing with chartreuse. Right. Murky water would be the fluorescence, and very clear water in clear conditions, either the silver or white.
You betcha. And there's times that chartreuse, on an overall basis, it's one of the most successful colors we got on the lake.
It always is for walleyes. I don't know what it is about yellow, but they love it.
It's a great color.
Slide.
Any size to him?
Yeah. Nah, I don't know. He hit it on the slide.
Okay. I got to that guy.
He's a keeper fish. No, here, it's not that big. I can get it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Look at that. That's what I like about these lures like this. Conventional live bait rigs for walleyes, they're gut hooked. This way they're always lip hooked and you can release them so nice. Go for it, fella. Boom, he's gone like a bullet.
Man, it does the job.
Well, that's what I say, so if a guy gets smaller fish, at least with these kind of baits and so forth, rather than the live bait thing, you can release them all the time.
Well, there's a lot of times, babe,
my job's good.
I'll go ahead and go through a party of 6 people we'll have, and it's not uncommon to go through 70, 80, 100 walleyes. And keep our limit. Sure. We'll keep our limit, and I'll be releasing them. And like you pointed out, they're just lip hooked and stuff, and they're not hurting. We don't do excessive handling. Many times you're 2 seconds, you're back in the water, and it expands the fishing enjoyment for the day for the party. Plus, you know, you can be a little more selective on size.
I can't tell you when I've had a better time fishing walleyes than this trip to Lake Erie with Captain Jim Fockridge. Not only were the walleyes plentiful and the action fast, but the time spent talking fishing with Jim was really a treat.
Now, is that particular pattern in the pattern fishing system for suspended walleyes a little clear to you? I hope so. And as you've seen, the pattern was drifting along rocky break lines, casting and counting down the best lure to catch those particular walleyes on that day. And it's really all very simple once you understand the principles. Hey, so let's move on to another fantastic pattern for catching walleyes that suspend. And this time, it was slip bobbers that turned the trick. In fact, they were so effective on that day that I wouldn't have traded my slip bobbers for anything. My wife Charlie and I found the walleye swimming over the tops of cabbage beds looking for dinner. And although they probably didn't expect to have their orders filled by the two of us, they really went for what we offered them. Big, fat jumbo leeches dangled right in front of their noses, and that's a meal no hungry walleye can resist. Watch this.
Ever been on one of those fishing trips and when you get out there, it's beautiful to be fishing, but the fishing gets just about as flat as the water condition does? Well, we've got a pattern here. Charlie and I are on a trip up to Ontario on our anniversary, and that same thing happened to us. We're up here. Charlie, your bobber's going down. Charlie, get it.
Just spin.
Good shot. Good shot. Here, let me get
I don't know if I have it very good, though, honey.
What?
I don't think I have it very good.
Well, that's a light rod, so. And that's only 6-pound line, a 6-pound clear on there. So take your time. I don't even see it yet.
Neither do I.
Well, there's so much pollen on the water. You know, it's just that time of the year. Oh, there comes
Is
your
that
bobber.
good or not? It's a
There comes
walleye.
your bobber. Sure, it's a walleye. Sure, it's a walleye.
I like this bobber fishing.
You do, huh?
Yeah, I can catch as many as you do.
Well, there's a lot. Oh, I got it hooked in the net. Where's he hooked? There. That's a good one, Charlie. Turn the live well on, give those guys some water.
Okay. No, I think this bobber fishing and trolling with rapids and everything gives us all an equal chance.
You do, huh?
Yeah.
Well, if mine go down, I'd agree with you.
Well, I think you're still ahead of me, aren't you?
Where's the marker, boy? There he is. I don't know. It doesn't make any difference who's ahead of who. Anyway, I started to tell you, we've got a technique here that under these conditions and a lot of other conditions is about as deadly a thing as you can do for fishing walleyes. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Charlie, you want to turn that aerator off?
Sure.
Thanks. Oh, while we're goofing around, something took my leech. Well, here, let me show you the principle, and then I'll bait up and get back down there. Let me show you how this thing works. It's a slick system, actually. First off, you see this piece of line on here. That's an extra piece of thread. And I'll show you how to rig it so I can use it as a bobber stop. Because they come rigged that way. You slide it up the line, off of the bobber, just as you're seeing. And then you take and you pull on both ends of the line together, just like so. It won't hurt your line, it cushions. And then it's just simply a matter of trimming off the ends, like so. And you've got it. Now, what that little knot does is allows you to fish any depth that you want to fish without changing. Say that I've got it set right now for a foot. Well, if I slide the knot up here, when you throw the bobber in, it goes down to this point, just to whatever depth it is preset. You can fish 20 foot of water or a foot of water or change instantly. And best part is when you pull it up like so to make a cast, the bobber slides all the way down to the split shot and the hook. So you're casting just about as if you were casting a lure. Now the rest of it is just very simply a round split shot, and I set mine about a foot or so above, and then a tiny Lindy bait holder hook, like so, that's just tied on direct. I've got 6-pound clear stren on here and an ultralight rod so you can handle the fish. And this kind of condition, what we're fishing, what that marker boy is over there, is we've got a cabbage bed and the walleyes will come up and they'll kind of cruise on it, but they're really spooky. So you want to go to very light mono and a very light rod to handle it, and clear monofilament, and then just a big, big leech. Now let me show you I'll grab one of those, show you how it's rigged, and then we'll get back to fishing. Now at the leech, you just hook him just like so. He'll lay his little sucker on you, and you go right up underneath the sucker, just like so. So he's hooked one time, and then he can spread out from there on down. Because you want him to swim in the water. Here, watch this. And you see the way he's swimming and fighting the hook. That's exactly what you want. I gotta get back. We've drifted off the spot. Hopefully we can show you some more of the rest of what slip bobber fishing's all about. As a matter of fact, Charlie, we could continue this all day for that matter.
It's okay with me. I'm getting a nice tan.
Yeah, you like the tan part, don't you?
I love it. Babe, where's your bobber?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought it was out by mine.
I don't know. It's been a while since it went down. It's down. Where is it?
I don't know. Can it get in weeds when we're down there?
No, it can't get in weeds.
Well, then you gotta fish.
Obviously. Obviously.
Any size? Look at it.
What's a decent fish? Get it? Good shot. Good shot.
Well, that is nice.
Yeah, it ain't particularly nice, but...
Well, honey, these are perfect for eating.
Tell me a walleye that isn't perfect for eating.
Boy, something catched it, honey.
Here, get the live well on. How they doing in there?
No, we should put the aerator on.
We gotta keep that thing on.
Well, now it's my turn to
Just
go
that
down.
it's so quiet and beautiful out here, and that puppy sounds like a meat grinder.
Yeah.
Get another leech.
What'd you have yours set at?
About 6 feet.
And how deep is it?
Oh, I suppose a dozen, 14.
So you're not right on the bottom?
No. The fish are cruising through the tops of it.
I think I have mine about 7 feet. Should I bring it up a little bit?
Where's the marker? Here, let me get us back a little bit. No.
I always thought you'd want to keep it more to the bottom because walleyes usually are on the bottom.
Well, everybody thinks walleyes are always on the bottom. But that was just... With the advent of the Lindy rig, we discovered walleyes on the bottom and a system of catching them, and from that time on, we thought they're always on the bottom, and that's the way to catch them. And that's just not the case, that there's a lot of times that they're suspended like now when they're cruising the tops of the weeds. Or times when they get out on Cisco and other things. For that matter, you can use a slip bobber. I don't care if you're fishing suspended fish that are 50 feet deep, that are hanging over whitefish or Cisco or anything down there. The beauty of this system is that it doesn't make any difference what depth it is, and you can still work with it. You know, if you take a typical bobber and say you're even fishing 10 feet down, how do you cast? You stand up and make one of them helicopter jobs, you know? If it's 15 feet down, you can't cast. With a slip bobber, it doesn't make any difference what it is.
As I said, the walleyes were located in the cabbage beds, which was the available cover. The cabbage attracted the minnows, and this was the food balance, and still fishing with slip bobbers was the presentation that worked best in that particular location. I strongly suggest you add some slip bobbers, these kind of guys, to your own fishing bag of tricks. And there are plenty of other good patterns for suspended walleye as well. So what do you say we briefly discuss a few more while we have the time? So far, the two patterns you've seen both involved casting, but there's one more I'd like to show you. When walleyes are suspended close to the bottom, floating Lindy rigs are a great way to get your live bait up in front of their noses. They're simple to use once you know how far off the bottom the walleyes are suspended, and they can be presented in many different ways. There are 4 components to floating Lindy rigs: a hook attached to a leader of line, a small colored float to lift your live bait off the bottom, a small swivel clip, and a walking slip sinker that allows the angler to feed line to a walleye once he takes the bait. Now, depending upon how far off the bottom the walleyes are, simply use a leader long enough to allow the bait to float up to the walleye's level. Make it easy for them, you know what I mean? These floating rigs can be worked fast or slow, and they can be casted and retrieved in many ways. And they also work just fine for trolling and drifting. In fact, we've got another tape that covers floating rigs more thoroughly. It's called Walleye Strike Zone, this one right here. And it's an in-depth look at this versatile presentation. So check it out. Now, the last 2 patterns I want to touch on are trolling presentations utilizing downriggers and planer boards. Downrigger fishing involves attaching your line to a heavy lead weight in order to work a specific depth for deep suspended fish. In the case of planer boards, the goal is to get your lure as far to the side of the boat's path as possible to avoid the spooked fish that you've moved out of the path of the boat. As a matter of fact, these two trolling presentations are often used at the same time to cover all the angles. Now, obviously, there's a lot more to learn about downriggers and planer board fishing, and I've got just a ticket for you there as well. It's all covered in one of my other latest videos, Trolling Systems for Suspended Fish. But that's another story. The main thing to remember today is how we've taken location and presentation and put them together into patterns that work for suspended walleye, and it'll work for you just as well. Now, we're just about out of time, but quickly, I've got a little more food for thought. It's what I call my 3 keys to fishing success, and they can help you master the patterns in nature. Now, these keys are knowledge, tools, and practice. You can get knowledge from books and magazine articles, from other videos like this, and of course from my television shows, Good Fishing and Outdoor Secrets. Then, once you gain the knowledge, the next key is choosing the right tools and learning how to use them properly. And finally, you'll need to practice, practice, and practice. And that, my friend, is what brings it all together for you. Take your practice on the water very seriously, though, because practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And that's what it takes to become a consistently successful fisherman. Hey, so thanks again for joining us today. And as you learn to master the patterns of nature, I'll leave you with one more thing you can practice. It's called catch and release. Keep the smallies fish, the ones that we call eaters. And by all means, save one big one for a wall on occasion, but the ones in between, say from 3 to 10 pounds like when you're dealing with walleyes, hey, they're the spawners, and that'll ensure good fishing for years to come for all of us. You know, a little common sense goes a long way, and that's what catch and release fishing is all about, having your cake and eating it too. You may want to give it some thought, and until the next time, everybody, hey, good fishing.
Feel the excitement. It's the action-packed, information-filled world of Babe Winkelman, Hall of Fame angler and America's foremost fishing educator. Be a part of it with Babe's entertaining, educational books and videos and quality research team products and accessories. The secret's out. Babe's Fishing Secrets Educational Video Library is the hottest collection of fishing videos ever produced. Choose from 27 exciting fishing secrets titles, including 12 brand new releases this year. Getting any lately? Now you can learn to master the patterns of nature with expert tips from some of the most respected outdoorsmen in the world. Babe Winkelman Productions is proud to present this dynamic new collection of in-depth how-to hunting and fishing videos. If you're a serious sportsman, you'll want to check them out. See what you've been missing with Babe's Fisherman's Favorite polarized sunglasses. Available in gray or amber, large, medium, and clip-on styles. They're the finest fishing sunglasses money can buy. It's every tool a fisherman needs, right at your fingertips. Babe's Angler's Edge Toolkit is actually 10 fishing tools in all, including this unique 5-in-1 pliers that easily removes paint from jig eyes, just like that. They're the best guides on the water. Babe's critically acclaimed comprehensive guidebooks are must-reading for beginners and pro anglers alike. Considered the Bible of modern fishing technique, these volumes are guaranteed to make you a better fisherman. Don't miss the boat. Look for Babe's tapes, books, and research team products at leading tackle, sporting goods, video, and department stores everywhere. And feel the excitement in the action-packed world of Babe Winkelman Productions.